The moment the CX-30 was launched, we knew it was amazing. But now with further updates and upgrades, it's shaping up to be something really special. The new version is on the way with a new look, tech updates, and big novelties under the hood. All that with keeping the sporty edge that made the CX-30 what it is today. Stay with us to find out how the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-30 disrupts the auto market. Timely updates. The CX-30 has been a pretty successful model for Mazda over the last couple of years. We've been seeing constant growth since the 2020 launch, with the last year ending with nearly 100,000 units sold only in the US market. But despite the popularity and still pretty appealing design, the CX-30 is 5 years old, and that's why the Japanese automaker is preparing updates. The officials are still quiet, but certain details have leaked. Combine that with digital renderings as well as expert suggestions, and it's quite easy to get a picture of what the all-new 2026 Mazda CX-30 is about to bring to the table. For now, the most we know about is the exterior design, and that's one of the reasons why journalists still can't find a consensus on whether this is a full redesign or just a mid-cycle refresh. Considering that the current model has been around for about 5 years, it could be both. In any case, the 2026 Mazda CX-30 is bringing a new look. Of course, considering the popularity, Mazda won't be changing the overall shape or proportions. This will still be a small crossover focused on sporty ride, rather than utility. But it will look even better, as the famous Kodo design language is just about to get a new iteration. Once again, it will be in a close relationship with the Mazda 3 hatchback, which is getting a complete redesign for the next year. And considering how good the current design language still looks, it's easy to presume that the changes are about to be evolutionary, with slimmer headlights, a more prominent grille, a more aggressive front bumper, and other changes at the front, which will be followed by the rear-end design that will be executed in similar fashion, but with the addition of wide LED taillights and illuminated Mazda lettering in the middle, a styling detail that recently debuted in the Mazda EZX EV. Chassis update. Fine-tuning. As mentioned, the CX-30 is much more about style and performance than comfort. It's agile and precise in corners with minimal body roll. But this also means it's not particularly comfortable, mostly because of the rear suspension setup. Namely, Mazda managed to design such an engaging chassis with pretty simple technical solutions, including the solid rear axle. In that way, the sporty ride is guaranteed, but still, it's not the most effective way of road bump absorption. A higher level of comfort is achievable without sacrificing sportiness, and for that, Mazda is about to install a more complex suspension setup. Read multi-link independent rear suspension. Yes, that will raise the cost a bit, but on the other hand, the benefits will be significant. This will make the CX-30 crossover way more versatile and way more attractive to a wider range of buyers. Because with such a suspension setup, the new CX-30 will finally be able to absorb road imperfections with style, without the need to sacrifice athleticism even for a bit. For now, it's unclear whether the upgraded suspension will come as a standard feature or as an option in upper trims. In any case, in combination with Mazda's well-known G-Vectoring Control Plus, it will make a significant impact on the overall ride quality. As for the rest of the chassis, we don't expect bigger changes, just fine-tuning, both in terms of the front suspension and steering, which is already super precise. As for exterior dimensions, they will probably remain the same or very similar. For reference, the outgoing model features a 104.5-inch wheelbase, while the total length goes up to 173 inches, which is pretty much a typical proportion for the subcompact crossover segment. The only thing is that the Mazda CX-30 with its superior ride quality is anything but a typical subcompact crossover, and that can be seen through the powertrain lineup, which is the next chapter in this video. Powertrain and performance. All that sporty handling we just talked about wouldn't mean much without an adequate powertrain, and if you look at the current lineup, things are more than adequate. The base engine is a 2.5-liter inline-4 with 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. And if that doesn't sound impressive to you, just keep in mind that many of its classmates need over 10 seconds to hit 60. This one, on the other hand, needs about 8.5 seconds, which is great, but things get really serious with the optional Turbo 4. 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque in a subcompact crossover? It's clear that this turbocharged engine turns the CX-30 into a small rocket that can hit 60 in about 5.5 seconds, making it quicker than many hot hatches available on the current market, including the Golf GTI. With all that in mind, it's clear why Mazda isn't in a hurry to introduce a new engine. These two will carry on for some time, most likely for another year or two. So the new 2026 Mazda CX-30 will offer the same or similar level of performance. The big changes are expected in about 2 years when the new generation of gasoline engines is about to be ready. That one will be called the Skyactiv Z, and compared to the current Skyactiv G engines, it will bring one substantial difference: the so-called Lambda 1 combustion method, which means it will have an ideal air-to-fuel ratio. There will be no excess air when burning gasoline, and therefore, there will be more power along with better fuel efficiency. For now, details are still unavailable, but we presume that both naturally aspirated and turbocharged units are coming to fulfill the offer. Along with the new engines, this update will bring a new transmission. Although the current 6-speed unit works great, it will make room for something more modern, something with more gears, which will make the ride more efficient. Electrification on the way. But that's not all about powertrain updates. Besides the new gas-only units, the CX-30 will also come electrified. That's right, hybrid versions are in development too, to improve efficiency and meet the latest emission standards. The officials still keep details secret, but we see 2 possible scenarios in the case of this subcompact crossover. One is to take the same path as the CX-50, which has Toyota's well-known hybrid system based on a 2.5-liter inline-4 Atkinson cycle engine coupled with 2 electric motors for a total output of 219 horsepower. That would be a perfect fit for a small crossover like the CX-30 in the way that it would be quick and incredibly efficient, with the average MPG ratings going over 40 miles per gallon combined. Still, there is a small problem called CVT gearbox, which is great in terms of fuel efficiency, but not exactly the most engaging choice for a crossover that tends to be sporty and athletic. That's why most experts suggest a different kind of hybrid powertrain. Mazda is already working on it, and it's expected to be ready for the next generation CX-5. It will be the first in-house developed self-charging hybrid system. Details are still unavailable, while some reports go so far as to suggest a rotary engine as its basis. We're not sure about that, but it's pretty clear that Mazda needs a system that's not just efficient and great in terms of emissions, but also has enough power and strong driving dynamics. That would also include a more conventional gearbox, most likely a classic automatic with a torque converter. Interior design. Finally, a few words about the interior design, which will also be new for the 2026 Mazda CX-30. The cabin design has always been one of Mazda's strongest selling points, no matter the model. Simple and elegant styling, fine materials, solid build quality, and a decent amount of standard and available equipment. The CX-30 has always been a tier above anything else in the segment, so it's clear that expectations from the new model are high. We presume that Mazda won't experiment much and that the same simplistic design approach will remain. Still, we count on the implementation of new technologies, including new infotainment screens and digital instrument clusters, which are likely to be integrated into a single curved panel in the fashion of way more expensive premium players. With the same or very similar dimensions in mind, the next generation won't get significantly more utilitarian. This will still be a crossover focused on style and performance, with a pretty tight rear section of the cabin, whether it's about the second-row seats or the cargo area, which currently offers no more than 20 cubic feet behind the second row and 45 cubic feet in total. Release date and price. The new 2026 Mazda CX-30 is in the works, and we expect to see it on the markets this year. In terms of price, the aforementioned upgrades might make it more expensive, but not by much. We still expect it to remain in the mainstream territory despite all those luxury bits. The outgoing model starts at around $25,000, and we don't expect to see a significant increase for the next year. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.